Hello, everyone. This is Suzanne Lie, and we are having another installment of How's Your Ascension Doing? And today we have Jenny Marks, who has a wonderful story to tell us. So, Jenny, would you like to kind of start at the beginning of the all is lost, time to shift type thing?
Sure. So thanks for letting me do the video with you. I'm really happy to be connecting with you again. And I just, as we've been talking, I mentioned a little bit about my story, which it is for everyone, that I was in New York City and for the last 20-some years working in advertising, marketing, communications companies, startups, big corporations. And I was a web producer on the internet, and I had my own business for a while. And my daughter was also a teenager in the city and going to performing arts school, but we had all access to all the stuff, but it was still not, something was a little unsettling. And I've always been drawn to, light language energy and what was going on in the world. And so I started, a couple of years ago, I started downloading some information about sacred geometry and different kinds of energies, and I knew that it just wasn't the right fit for me anymore. I didn't want to live in that world. I didn't want to, I just wanted to change. So I decided one day I woke up and I, found some symbolic information online and basically started opening up to, really sort of what I had always been doing all my life, but I had forgotten about. And I have a fine arts background, and I've been drawing symbols and writing and galactic information and starting to speak this kind of light language and stuff. So it's kind of the fit just wasn't in New York anymore with what I was doing. And so I decided that I just wanted to completely shift gears. And through a friend, I came out to the Midwest and basically had a very different lifestyle. I left most of my sort of day-to-day life there, and still in touch with people, and I travel around and that kind of thing, but totally changed our life.
So could you talk a little bit about how you found the courage to do that? I'm sure lots of people have those ideas that, gee, I want to start over again, but I can't because. So you had a big, powerful job and everything. So where did you find that resolve to make that shift for yourself?
I think inside it just wasn't working anymore. It didn't make sense to me anymore. It didn't seem like it had a purpose. I didn't feel like I was contributing something of value to the world anymore. And I was obviously to the company, but started thinking about my creative side and how I really wanted to live. And then I thought about following my heart. I guess I meditated and had a moment, like an aha moment, where I just said, this isn't working, what else can I do? And I thought of all the various scenarios and said, I want to go to a smaller town. I really want to decompress. I want to do my artwork. I want my daughter to be able to go barefoot, on the countryside playing guitar and all that stuff. And just kind of transition for a little while, knowing that, I was still could be connected with that world, but also wanted to kind of shift. So I just did it. Something in me just said, if you don't do it now, you're not going to make a life change. And I knew that there were other things that I wanted to do, spiritually, write a book and paint and everything. So I just put my stake in the ground and just decided to do it. I had a little bridge because I knew people that were out here where I'm living now in the Midwest. And, there's a lot of metaphysical practices and things going on that was very in tune with what I was doing and interested in doing. So I just decided now or never, and my daughter was on board, and so we just made this shift about a year ago, and my life is completely different.
So you listened to your inner voice and did the scary thing, and it changed your life completely, and you're much happier.
Absolutely. There are different challenges and struggles about, how I spend my day, because now it's really up to me. I set my own schedule, and the advantage is one of the things I had sort of requested of the universe or my guides or whatever you want to call it is, finding a way to enjoy the time with my daughter and also be able to, sort of enjoy the natural flow of time. So for about a year, I wasn't working. I was doing some freelance things, but would get up when I wanted to, would eat when I wanted to, and I completely changed my whole cycle. I started tuning in with the moon cycles and, doing these kind of sacred ceremonies with a group of other people. And it was really beautiful. It took me about a year to decompress from sort of day-to-day emails and conversation and communication that way. But it's been really wonderful so far. So I'm just completely shifting gears now.
And you're liking this gear much more.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's very different because it's coming from me. But, so fortunately I have a kind of, work I can do virtually. So it's not really tied into the physical place that I'm at. But, I'm writing and painting and doing all this creative stuff is now coming back to me, which was my dream before, to be able to carve out time and space to do that. So, yeah, I love it. We're having a ball. We're having so much fun here.
And you're making some real interesting experiences about light language. You want to share that with the group?
Sure. Yeah, so one of the things that I did was I have been very in tune with symbolism and sacred geometry, and came across Chief Golden Light Eagle, who's a Lakota chief who is very in tune with the star information, star nations, and a lot of different kinds of teachings and the symbols, and connected with him and family, and have been basically doing some really interesting projects and work together. So the light language, one of the people at one of these Star Knowledge conferences that he does started speaking this light language. The grandmother message came through, and I said immediately, I know that language. I've done that language before, and this whole world just opened up to me. And then I went back to some of my writings as a child. All my life, I've been drawing these galactic symbols and writing script and doing all my paintings since I was little, because my mom was an artist. We had a studio in the house. All my work was, symbolic of light language script or images or beings or something. It's like, oh my God, I've been doing this all my life. And then when I heard this person talking, I just started talking. I said, I don't know why, but I'm going to share this with you. And this whole voice came out of me. And first it started as a kind of an energetic tones, and then it became a language very quickly. And then I started talking about 3 or 4 languages. I actually speak a couple more than that. But I started writing galactic script, and it comes out in a lot of different ways. So I said, what is this? So I started researching about light language, and it's amazing how many people do it, or they do it and they don't know it, or there's so many famous artists. When you look at Kandinsky and Paul Klee and all these people, it's manifesting the kind of like an energetic signature for who they are. And some people dance it, some people sing it, some people write it. So I found I was doing all of it, which was a little overwhelming at first, but then I started making sense.
Can you talk a little bit about the energetic, 2 things. One thing about that cycle, about that thing that we loved to do when we were children, and then we grow up, and then that's really the key to what we were supposed to do. And also about the energetic signature, energetic signature.
Sure. So, as a kid, I was always doing kind of energetic work with my hands. I was really in tune with basically light, sound, and vibration through my painting and dancing. I was always talking to trees and doing a lot of interesting energetic work with friends in different ways, but I didn't really know it at the time. And obviously, you grow up and you go to school, and granted, I went to an art school, but it was still, how are you going to fit in the working world and, move forward and do these things that are sort of expected of you, and I didn't, my family was very open to whatever I wanted to, be interested in and live out in terms of a career and lifestyle. But still, there was an understanding that there were certain things that you kind of needed to do. And so I put all of that aside, and I actually stopped painting for about 20 years because I couldn't find my voice and that kind of thing, because there was no place for what I was doing at the time. And as I'm revisiting it now, it's just fascinating to me, it's always been with me. You know, I'll do something and then I'll remember, God, I did a painting like that when I was a child, or I made this performance piece, or the thing that's really attracted to me is this idea of multidimensional art. So, you know, some people will dance and they'll sing, or they'll combine different art forms. And I find a lot of people now, as the energetic shift is happening, are doing really interesting things where they're doing projections and dance, or music with a little art happening painting on the side. And I'm really attracted to that kind of, you know, mix and match of different skills. But in terms of the energetic signature, one of the things that I sort of get these messages from time to time that come in different ways. Obviously, for everybody, they process this stuff differently. But one of the things was, you're going to be drawing these things that I'm calling energetic frequency signatures. And I sort of got an intuitive download, almost like a channeling, if you will, that everybody has their unique energetic frequency signature. Like, everybody has a sound or a vibration, something that comes from them that makes them distinctly unique from everybody else. And something came to me that I could start to feel that and read that from people. And so I started doing these drawings that I call energetic frequency signature bundles. You know, so I'll do a drawing where I can feel, I feel how creativity moves through that person uniquely as their sort of process. And then in these drawings, I will write this kind of galactic script that energizes with it. Then I put my hand over it. And then I start to speak this galactic language, and then send people these digital files. So this is sort of a new art form, you know, service that I'm developing, and it's fascinating. It's so much fun.
So how could you assist other people? What can you say to assist other people to find their energetic frequency and to open up to their self like you've done?
I think what's really important is to spend some time alone. Definitely go out in nature, because when you're in the elemental environments, if you're walking barefoot in the ground, or the best thing, honestly, is to lean next to a tree, because these trees are beings. You know, they're tree nations and light nations and cloud nations, and you know, they're alive. And I think this was also the connection that I vibrated with the Native American energy. Is they carry information, and they will inform you or teach you things when you're ready. You know, it has to come from you. But I guess what I would say is everybody has their unique voice, and I think, you know, my feeling is that we're all in the world right now to find out why we're here, which is remembering. We're all remembering how to do this again, what our skill set is. You know, some people are different and better and interested in other things than other people, or they may be doing the same thing, but their style is different. So I think it's really important to start to listen to yourself. And what really helped me was not looking for information outside or verification of what I was doing. Part of it is because I was on this path that was really kind of bizarre at the time and very unique, and there weren't too many role models, you know, that I could look to and say, oh, that's what I want to do, because it was just coming to me in different ways. So all the stuff that I guess I thought was a problem or blocking me in my life became exactly, I kind of stepped into, that's who I am, and that's how I experience the world, and it's really fun. So yeah, I would just say it's really important to listen to yourself and, you know, try new things and have fun. It's really important to just play. Play is huge.
Play is totally huge. And also, courage is huge. So how did you find that inner courage within you? You found an inner courage that you could uproot your entire life, that you would put all that effort into establishing, and go to you went from, Manhattan to
a very small town in the Midwest.
Yeah, practically an Indian reservation. It seems like you're within most of the time. I'm
around that, but I live in actually a really interesting place in the Midwest where it's very organic farming and very,
that's great.
A lot of, you know, it's not, it is in the middle of nowhere, but there's enough like culture and life around here that's quite vibrant. But I think the way I did it was I just had enough. Something wasn't right. I felt a little off, and, I've always been interested in nature, but had forgotten about it, and, the value of really having downtime to just experience the world. I was on the clock, I was over organizing every single thing, and my day was so broken out in schedules and 200, 300 emails a day, and just over processing stuff, and I lost myself in all that. And I guess I took a moment. I think I was in the middle of, Central Park, and I just said, what can I do different? And you hear people's stories where they shift gears, or they start a business, or they go off and do something else. And I said, if I don't do it now, it's really not going to be the time. But the driving force for me, I think, was having a daughter who I wanted to be a model for her of following your heart and enjoying your life. And, she saw me really struggling, trying to, as a single parent, trying to keep things going and moving forward. And it just wasn't working. So, again, we found a bridge, but I think I put that out in the universe to find, my tribe of people that were doing similar things. So I think that made it a lot easier.
Yes. So you let go of everything that had been security and went back to everything that you always had wished you were doing, basically.
Right. It was complete security of, where's the money coming from? How am I going to do this? I don't know anybody. And I realized, this is exactly what I need to do. This is the challenge that I choose to put myself through, because I know there's something better than what I had before.
Yes, and as we go through the process of a planetary ascension, who knows what's going to be going on with money anyhow?
Oh, yeah. Oh, now having to work at the bank, it's been quite interesting.
Yes.
I think I'll just, I intuit and channel a lot of information about what's happening sort of energetically and galactically, and it's next couple of months are going to be really interesting. I think a lot of the systems, the systems just don't work anymore. Just like my system didn't work anymore for me. I wasn't happy. It wasn't right. And I think, financial, government, even media, pop culture, people were sort of at the end of the road. Like, what does this all mean? It just doesn't have a purpose anymore. And like you say in all, in all the classes and the workshops and your books and your material, it's that message really comes through that we're in the shift. Now we are living it day to day, but, we keep recreating the 3D because it seems familiar to us, but we're not really there anymore. We've shifted up to another dimension. And so how do you ride this wave of paying your bills, putting food on the table, and then I'm getting these huge energetic Star Nation downloads. I got to do something with both of those things.
Well, I had a process where I wanted to leave my office and I wanted to leave the type of therapy that I did. And then this whole chain of events kind of went click, 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 and then bang, beyond my choice. I had to. And it was the absolute best thing that ever happened.
Yeah, but there's a pull that happens that you can't deny after a certain point. I was meeting people, and these symbols were coming up online all the time. I was seeing these things, and, it's like you can ignore it or you can do something about it. And that's true of life or any situation that we are in. The universe is telling you there's another way. And, we do guide our ship, but there are lots of energetic guides around us that help us all the time. But it's really, we can choose to look at it or not, and we can choose to do something with it or not.
Yeah, I really like a lot about what you said about the trees, because that's my deal, really loving trees so much. And do you want to talk a little bit about how you make that transition where you get energy and it comes through you as your presentation? Now, everyone's going to have their own presentation. But that process, that something you did in your mind, some trigger you pushed or some, door that you opened, something happened, and then you just allowed this to come into your life. What was that for you?
I think it was just being ready. I think in my life in the past, I practiced Buddhism for a long time, and my daughter grew up, as what they call a Buddha baby, around people and changes and, it's kind of spiritual quest. I did a light energy thing for a while, so I've always been in tune with that. But I felt, I think the thing that kind of came through was I just had to, I had a desire to figure myself out. And, what makes me tick and why. And so I would start walking around going, why do I like this color of flower? Why am I doing this? Really questioning, and all of a sudden it's that aha moment where people talk about, you unplug from the matrix, really. The other day, I was like, oh my gosh, every single thing we touch, think, smell, feel has been completely, entrenched in our programming from day one, and our parents and our, whatever relationship you have with parents in school and teachers and the world and advertising and media. We're pummeled with messages over and over again about who we're supposed to be, or we're not quite there yet. So if you buy this thing or you do this thing,
not quite good enough.
Yeah,
you're trying, but you're not quite good enough.
Yeah, you're never quite good enough. And I was like, no, we're fine as we are. We're absolutely fine. And it's sort of like you have to refine yourself again. I think that's what this period of time is about. Those who are looking, you just cannot give up the searching until something kind of triggers off. I did a kind of a sacred ceremony where I had this moment that, this just feels right. It's the truth for me at the time, which could be different for other people. But for me, this voice happened inside of me that said, this is your people, this is your, the kind of work that feels right for you right now. Just do it. And, it's a free fall. I mean, it really is. And I think so much of this shift right now is about completely letting go of any baggage, past history, past stories, people that no longer work with you, or, and really opening up to something different. And then the information just kind of comes, I think. It's trusting this spiritual energy. So like when I go out and I sit next to a tree, these trees are beings. They're alive, but we just haven't really been taught in our day-to-day existence how to feel them, how to see them, how to speak their language. They all speak languages, So I must have been a linguist or a code breaker in my past lifetime or something. So I'm fascinated with how, people communicate to each other, how we talk to the spirit world, how, energies in nature talk to each other, how birds and trees, and they all work together. And it's amazing. This whole world just opened up. And there are some people that are living in that experience, and there are some people I think that have a moment of clarity and, oh yeah, but I got to go do this now. And what you say, when you talk about the Arcturian corridor and going up and down in the third and fifth dimension and that kind of thing, it's like we're really up there and we're coming down here to do this thing in 3D, but how do you ride that wave right now? It's a very interesting time.
So how do you ride that wave?
Well, I have had a couple experiences recently that have been so profound about, feeling energetics in the world. And I think this whole, the galactics, the Arcturians definitely is one big energy that kind of comes through me. So they will communicate with me, like in different ways. Some people, it's not really like a channel. Like some people will channel information, or they'll, shift to the side and kind of talk. For me, it just kind of comes through. And I found that I'm speaking these languages, so it's like, okay, this whole other world exists. What do I want to do with it? I can put it to the side, or I can really start to understand it. So I feel like I'm exploring different languages and that kind of thing. So it's just I guess just being open to an experience. When I have a dialogue with somebody, really trying to hear where they're coming from, and seeing that experience very differently than just, they're telling me something or the world is reflecting something to me. It's like we're manifesting everything around us. So it's a very different mindset that I stepped into for whatever reason. Part of it's conscious, part of it just happened.
Well, it's because you didn't put it aside.
I think I had to look at it.
You didn't put it aside. You turned around and you faced it. And I think for most people, when we turn around and face it, it's very familiar, because it's been following us around our entire life. We were going, excuse me, I'm busy. No, I can't do this now.
Yeah. Until it hammers you over the head.
Yes.
And then it's like, well, you've always done this anyway. Why don't you just do this? I think, shifting gears from a very professional, corporate professional life to talking light language and, dancing energetically and doing these drawings and everything. It's like, that's pretty big.
Yeah, do you think you could have done that from your office in New York City?
I started to try. And
good. Courageous girl.
I think that there was a point where I was walking down Park Avenue and like, okay, why am I doing this? And I thought, I'm helping shift the energy. So it became not a negative thing anymore. It's just, I guess I would say also the people that are in, corporate or 9 to 5 or 8 to 12, whatever your hours are. It's also important for them to be there because there's something they need to get out of that experience. So at the time when I was still there, I knew I was going to be there maybe another year or something like that. I really tried to just enjoy what was going on around me, knowing that there was a purpose, even if I didn't understand it. And what happened was these amazing conversations would come up, in meetings sometimes, or I'd meet someone at my job who would have this whole other world or this whole other life that I didn't know, energetically and creatively and stuff. And I think it's part of the training that we go through. It's not necessarily to leave that world. You can live very high vibrational if you find that balance, I think, inside of yourself. So it's not about like leaving and starting your own business all the time. Sometimes people need that. But I think also the tests that we go through are the stuff that we always avoid is exactly the thing that we need to look at and deal with. Yeah. So this fear for me was like, how can I be a self-expressed artist? That was a huge fear because I had to live into that, and you just at some point you look at it and go, okay, let's just do this,
And then when you let go, boy, did you find multiple ways to express your self-expressed artist.
Yeah, I think, like I said, the world opened up in ways that I couldn't have imagined. And I think it's, all the fears that we're presented with. Am I good enough? Do I need approval? Approval was a huge thing for me. I was the daughter of 4 very powerful energy women. And, it was always like, can I be heard? I always had to raise, my hand to get attention, do other things. And I was always the artist going off and doing my own creative stuff. And then I realized it didn't matter anymore. I didn't need their approval. I didn't need, anybody's approval. And it just felt good, and I started doing this. And what surprised me was people that I would assume would be somewhat judgmental about what I'm doing or how it comes out or the work I'm doing or, light language and galactic stuff. And what is that? That's so weird. Were incredibly supportive. And my best friend the other day said, as a child, you did all this stuff anyway. It's not that weird. You started a business. You had this idea. You were dancing in the rain. You were talking to the trees. You were drawing and, writing galactic script code. She's like, that's who you are. So it's fun to, when you step out of that fear and realize it's just in your own mind, it really is, it gets fun,
Yes, absolutely. It's really fun being who we really are, isn't it?
Or finding and becoming that. And, and we're tested all the time, but it's not, I used to think of testing, spiritual testing or life testing is like this big thing. Okay, now we've got to get over this hump or something's going to happen. I was always kind of had this get ready for the world to fall apart again, or somebody's going to say something and I have to deal. And that was also a way of being that just didn't work anymore. And so I let that go. And, I'll have exchanges with people which are kind of spiky. And then I kind of put it in perspective and have immediate forgiveness. And, that's one of the things that I learned a lot from Chief Golden Light Eagle, just immediate forgiveness. And whatever happens, we don't have to explain the situation or really deeply understand it. It just is what it is, and there's a learning in it. And, it's just fascinating when you don't have judgment anymore about a situation, then it's like wonderful, but we're still every day I'm presented with stuff, but I don't hold on to it as long as I did, I guess.
Yes, that immediate forgiveness, that's a really beautiful thing to share.
Yeah.
That we actually have that ability to do that. And it's the same thing as I refuse to participate in this reality. It's like, that was a reality that's set. I'm not refusing. I don't want to experience that reality. And so I just forgive it. And then when you forgive it, then it's sealed off. It's not, there's nothing left hanging. That you don't have to go back and have that talk or do whatever. It's just that a moment that we said, no, thank you. And then when we teach ourselves, we can say no, thank you to a moment. Wow, we can say thank you to lots of good moments, can't we?
Absolutely. And you know that phrase, no is a complete sentence. I love that. I really understood it's, when you put boundaries up, it doesn't mean that you're blocking out the world or you're running away from the world. It means that you're being real clear about what works for you and doesn't. So it's really about understanding your own system, But it's also about, what you're here for. And time is the only thing that we can kind of work with in this dimension in a certain way that we're really in control of. Besides it's our body and time, And how we choose to spend our time, what we focus on, and the power. What really got to me was the power of every single thought that you have actually changes the world. One little thought of, a judgment about somebody, or, that's such a beautiful thing that just happened, really goes out in the world and it changes the world that people really need to understand.
Yes, we have a lot of power. And as our consciousness is raising into the fifth dimension and our perspective is becoming fifth dimensional, I'm finding for myself, I can look down at myself, so to speak, and say, oh, did I just have that behavior really? That was my thought? Oh, did I do? No. And so there's almost like this constant love you unconditionally, violet fire going through. Because we get this other perspective. We're graduating into a reality that is completely different than the reality that we have lived in for many, many lifetimes.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really like, that you can find a lot of people online talking about the new earth or the new blueprint or the new human. We're with this energetic shift, what I'm feeling and also the messages that I'm getting are very much about that there's just a completely different way of living. How we deal with community, how we deal with, exchange. It's not always about money exchange, it's energy exchange. And, pretty much everything that we touch is evolving very quickly into something else, even art forms and music. And, it's incredible to see young people like really opening up to experimental sounds and working different genres and everything. And so, I mean, that's, I have a teenager right now who, shares so much about that world of these younger people are just on fire. They're so, they don't even buy into any of these old systems. They're like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I'm going to go do this thing. And, and they are wired differently. And, so when I'm stuck, I look at them and see how they're being, and it reminds me, you can do this thing. But you made a really good point also about, if it just doesn't work for you, you can choose to do something different. It's really a choice.
Yes. Yeah. So thank you. Is there any summation you'd like to give here? And this has been a great conversation.
I think if people are interested in the light language, I think it would be really good for them to find out a little bit more on their own. And they'll, they have energies and guides and, energies around them that will help them understand more about themselves. But I think little by little, we're all going to be talking and thinking and feeling that more. And also just in terms of the shift energetically that's happening in the world. I mean, we're really in the heart of it. And I think the most important thing is not to get discouraged when you get exhausted. I mean, I'm going in and out of consciousness sometimes. And, I'll have a lot of energy and I'll be really tired. And, understand that, there are people like yourself and other people that are guiding people about how to manage that energy in their life. But it's a process and it is changing. And the most important thing is just, I learned this from Chief Golden Light Eagle, and I also felt this in lots of different ways, to be who you are. Figure out who you are in this world and just be that and have fun with it.
Yes, and who you are is just perfect.
Yeah.
And what freedom goes with that, right?
Yeah. All you can be is yourself.
That's right.
Well, then you create your own rules. That's the fun part.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. We're really great hearing from you.
Thank you very much. Great talking with you.
All right, and have a good day.
Thanks, you too.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.